I've been wanting to make an analysis about Signs for a while now, because I think it's the best interpretation of fate and free will ever put to film. Shyamalan has had many hits and misses over the years, and some people have decided to just discard him, but I know talent when I see it, and Shyamalan has it. While he'll always be known for The Sixth Sense and its cool twist ending, my favorite Shyamalan film is without a doubt this 2002 alien invasion movie. Signs is Shyamalan at his peak in his career. In this video, I want to talk about the faith aspect in Shyamalan's masterpiece, Signs.
I am not wasting one more minute of my life on prayer. Not one more minute.
Just before Graham awakes, we see a bedside photo of him and his family. In it, he's garbed in his reverend attire. So we know we're going to be learning of a man who is not only religious, but is a man of the cloth. A short moment after, and the camera highlights another shot of his bedroom wall, where a cross had likely been hanging for quite some time. When it was removed, it left a stain against the wall from its years up there. So within the first minute, we know that a loss of Christian faith has been involved in this household. Shyamalan uses several flashbacks to explain Graham's reason to discard his faith. We see these through dreams and other important moments when Graham faces significant choices. Around the 45-minute mark, after the best scene in the film that discusses a great monologue about fate and free will, we eventually learn of the tragic death of his wife through a dream.
I never told you the last words that Colleen said before they let her die. She said, "See." And her eyes glazed a bit. And then she said, "Swing away. There is no one watching out for us, Meryl. We are all on our own."
This horrible event tests Graham's faith in God by taking away his wife. Graham fails that test, cursing God, and chooses to remove God from his life. Because of Graham's extreme loss of faith, it implies that he expected to be exempt from terrible things happening to him and his loved ones because of his genuine devotion to God. His full block of God contrasts his full devotion to God. Graham took the death of his wife as a personal insult since he devoted his life to expressing God's love. When Graham arrives at the scene of the accident, he's dressed in his holy attire, implying he just left his parish where he was likely helping his parishioners with their own faith. The expression on his face seems calm. He doesn't rush out of the car, nor does the car come to a fast halt from speeding. Graham, at this moment, is confident that everything will be alright, because his faith in God makes him able to handle such extreme moments peacefully. Even when he speaks with Caroline, the police officer, Graham seems cool-headed and realistic about the situation. It isn't until she informs him that this will be the last time Graham will speak with his wife, Colleen, that he realizes the severity of the situation and begins to show emotion.
Caroline, this is the last time I'm going to talk with my wife.
Yes, it is.
Graham's loss of faith when his wife passed away also happens to be the cause for his revival in faith later when faced with the alien at the end. The manner in which his wife is dying is beyond tragic because she has the time to realize that she's going to die. It's a tearjerker moment that destroys Graham, which tests and severs his relationship with God. Colleen even says it was meant to be, implying it is fate that led her to that situation.
I was just taking a walk before dinner.
You love walks.
It was meant to be.
Fate is easier to accept because it acknowledges actions that are out of our control. In some cases, fate frees us from taking responsibility for our actions, while in others, fate overloads us with guilt, such as with the character of Ray Reddy.
It had to be at that right moment. That 10-15 seconds when I passed her walking was like it was meant to be.
This whole movie plays on the fate and free will aspects of life. This is something that people grapple with constantly, every day. Do things happen to me because of a higher power that I cannot ever understand, and therefore I should accept as fate? Or do your personal choices and the choices of others dictate the trajectory of your life?
What?
You got him? Pull him! I got him!
Whenever you see a film about monsters or aliens or ghosts or whatever supernatural adversary is haunting the hero, the message is always somewhat easy to decipher because they reflect the story's theme. The aliens are only real as plot relevance, which is fine. Genre stories need a plot. But when aliens walk on two legs, have two arms, and overall resemble a human being, it's safe to say the aliens are a mirror reflection of the human experience that represents something important on a personal level. The aliens clearly symbolize Graham's lack of faith, demonstrated in a physical form. That's why the alien doesn't make its physical appearance until Graham has a conversation with his daughter about his dead wife. Up until this point, the aliens are delegated to spooky happenings about cornfields and aggressive dogs. The alien only appears standing on the barn, looking directly at Graham when he verbally mentions that prayer about his wife does not work.
Why do you talk to Mom when you're by yourself?
Makes me feel better.
Does she ever answer back?
The alien is specifically homing in on Graham because he vocalized his loss of faith. When Graham confronts the alien in Ray Reddy's pantry, he never thought it would return to test his faith once more at the end. Graham likely thought his faith was tested and revived when he helped his son through his asthma attack in the basement. But, like the Queen in James Cameron's Aliens, he returned to confront the hero one last time, testing if the hero is truly worthy of his achievements. He'll have to face his doubts by actually defeating the alien rather than simply hiding from it. Plot-wise, it's a personal vendetta on the alien's behalf because Graham cut off its fingers. It had managed to escape the pantry, but didn't leave with the others. Likely not allowed to leave with them because it was wounded. Merrill mentions this to Graham in the basement.
But they're leaving.
They left real fast this morning, like something scared them off. They left some of their wounded behind.
So, abandoned by its own, the alien chooses to confront Graham one more time. This is Graham being presented with another one of fate's obstacles. The song playing during this scene is actually titled The Hand of Fate Part 1. So, even James Newton Howard, the musician behind Sign's wonderful score, likely recognized the fate aspects of the scene. But the better example of fate comes when Graham's son, Morgan, suffers an asthma attack, but gets through it, only to have the returning alien attack him with gas. There's nothing Merrill or Graham could have done to save Morgan in that situation. Sure, they defeated the alien, but Morgan was on his own when dealing with the gas. Graham looks at the dire situation optimistically, hoping that Morgan's lungs were closed, so he wouldn't have been affected by the gas.
His lungs were closed. No poison got in. No poison got in. His lungs were closed. His lungs were closed.
Graham revives his faith in that moment, praying that his son's life will be saved. They give him a shot of medicine, and Morgan revives back to life, showing that Morgan was not affected by the gas because, indeed, his lungs were closed. The movie implies it was fate and fate alone that Morgan survived. Fate, or in other words, God's shining grace this time, saved Graham's son in that moment.
Did someone save me?
I think someone did.
And the song playing during that scene, it's titled The Hand of Fate Part 2.
We know the battle turned around in the Middle East. 3 small cities there found a primitive method to defeat them. We have no further details at this time.
When it comes to the aliens' retreat, the answer is somewhat vague. The only answer we get is a television announcement that the primitive solution came from the Middle East. This answer is meant to be interpreted as another result of prayer. Just before the alien attack, the news reporter mentions that thousands of people all over the world have taken refuge in the holy buildings to pray for help.
Hundreds of thousands have flocked to temples, synagogues, and churches. God be with us all.
The adjective primitive isn't meant to be an insult in this context. Actually, it's a compliment, because during the invasion, the world's armies likely tried everything to stop the invasion, but nothing worked. This harkens back to 1953's War of the Worlds, when guns, bombs, and nuclear explosions would not defeat the Martians, but the combination of prayer and bacteria did.
We were all praying for a miracle. After all that men could do had failed, the Martians were destroyed and humanity was saved by the littlest things which God in his wisdom had put upon this earth.
Merrill even mentions War of the Worlds in one scene.
It's like War of the Worlds.
So what is so important about the Middle East that it would hold the key to defeating the aliens? The answer is the prophet Abraham. His presence is pivotal throughout the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Each faith considers Abraham as the messenger of God. So when the television reporter says 3 cities in the Middle East, it's a reference to the 3 Abrahamic religions. Graham goes through hell in the story to return to his once faithful self. Accepting his wife's death as part of God's bigger plan was no easy task, but it makes his faith stronger and rewards him at the end by returning to his priesthood. The final shot of Graham garbed once again in his religious attire echoes the first time we see him in the picture by his bedside with his family. He's returned full circle back to happiness. So what's the message in Signs about? It's that suffering is inevitable, regardless if you don't believe in God or how devout you are to God. Bad things will happen to good people. God is there to put you through hardships to make you learn and grow to handle other obstacles in your future. Fate will test your faith because of these hardships, but your free will decides if you continue your faith after you experience difficult times. It all depends how you cope with setbacks and suffering. Signs implies that God's presence resides everywhere, and it's up to us to notice these miracles that will strengthen our faith and help us live meaningful lives.